In this lesson, we're going to focus on customizing what you see on your screen, the user interface. Again, we're working with 4 open notebooks. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see I've got Conference, My Clients, Stationery, and UC Book open all simultaneously. And here you can see I've selected the Conference notebook. I'm in the Meeting Notes section on the first page. So if you've got the exercise files, you'll find these in the Lesson 9 folder. Go ahead and open them up if you'd like to follow along. First thing we're going to talk about is something called full page view. Now, as we're working on notes on a page, you can see that our space is limited by certain things. For example, over here on the right-hand side, we see the different pages in this section. Over here on the left-hand side, we've got our notebooks. We've got our toolbars and our menu at the top. And that's all taking up space. If we wanted to just focus on the content of this page, we have something called full page view. Now this is very handy, especially when, for example, you've got the task pane open on the right-hand side and it takes up even more room. Or you expand your notebook navigation pane over here on the left. By going up to the View menu and selecting Full Page View, notice that Function key 11 is a shortcut. There's also a button on the toolbar that I'll show you in a second. When we click this, we switch to full page view. Now all you've got is a single line of buttons across the top on your toolbars. You've got nothing down the left-hand side taking up room, nothing down the right-hand side. You're just working on your page, the selected page you were on. Down at the bottom, if you've decided that you want to see the drawing tools, that may show up across the bottom, but you've got lots of space to work right now. When you're ready to go back, the very first button that appears on the toolbars up here is the full page view button, which is a toggle, meaning we click it to turn it on, click it to turn it off. Again, F11 on your keyboard will also switch you back, but I'm going to click this button to switch back to the standard view. Now notice over here, just after help on the menu bar, there's our full page view button. So if you like to switch between views, you can give it a click from there or from here to go back and return to the original view. Now keep in mind when we start to work with task panes and navigation panes and the area you have to work on starts to decrease, you might want to switch to full page view just to give yourself some room while you're working on the page itself. Now the other thing you can do is turn certain toolbars on and off and even customize them. You can create your own toolbar if you wanted to take all of your favorite buttons, put them onto one toolbar so you're not left with all these different toolbars open at the top taking up some vertical space. So let's go up to the View menu and notice down below that we have the ability here to turn toolbars on and off just by clicking them here on this list. If we go down to toolbars, you'll also see a list of toolbars with check marks indicating which ones are currently being viewed. Let's say we don't want the drawing tools anymore. We can click on drawing tools. It disappears from the bottom. That gave us a little more space. The other thing that we see up here, I've got my writing tools and I've also got my formatting toolbar here. If I go back up to the View menu and down to toolbars, you'll see formatting and writing tools. I don't need the writing tools, so I'm going to turn that one off by clicking. And if I want to save some space, I can move this toolbar, which is my formatting toolbar, up beside the standard toolbar. Now, obviously, there's not enough room to see everything. So when I get the 4-sided arrow on the left-hand side of the toolbar here, I can click and drag. And when I move up, you can see I can choose to overlap the standard toolbar, or if I want to see all those buttons, go right next to the standard toolbar and release. Now I'm not seeing all of my formatting toolbar buttons, but that's okay because we can knock off some of the buttons we don't typically use to create some extra space so we can see our formatting toolbar. Let's go back up to View and down to Toolbars, and over here on the right hand side you'll see at the very bottom Customize. So I'm going to go down to Customize, and this opens up the Customize dialog box. I see the Options tab as well as Toolbars and Commands. And I'm going to go back over to Options. Notice under Personalized Menus and Toolbars, Show Standard and Formatting Toolbars on 2 rows is an option. So if I wanted to, I can make sure that that always happens, but if I want them side by side, this cannot be selected. Always show full menu, so when we click on a menu, we're going to see the full menu. That's fine. We can also come down here, choose large icons if you're having difficulty seeing. List font names in their font. I like that feature. It takes up a little system memory, but At least you'll have an idea what font you're selecting. Screen tips on the toolbars, they don't take up any extra space or anything. Shortcut keys in the screen tips, always a good idea as well. But let's go up here to toolbars. Now down here you'll see standard, formatting, and the menu bar. These are currently being viewed, so we can turn them on and off from here as well. These are the ones I want turned on, but if I wanted to actually make changes to any of these or reset them back to their defaults, I could. Notice over here on the right we've got the new button as well. So if I click on New, I'll be creating my own toolbar. I'm going to type in my name, Dave's Toolbar. You can type in your own name if you like and click OK. Now as I move this out of the way, you can see the new toolbar has been created. Now as long as I'm in Customize View here, I can start taking commands from the command section over into my toolbar. So for example, under the File category, I've got New, Open, Email, Publish Pages, there's Save As, there's some print commands, all the different commands that I find under the File menu. So for example, if New Page is something I want, just click and drag it over here inside the toolbar. New Section is something I use on a regular basis, I'll pop that in there as well. As I scroll up, Save As is something I use. And you can put in any buttons you like here. I also like the Open button. Now I don't currently have that on my standard toolbar, and this is one that I like to have. If you wanted to open on your standard toolbar, just move it up onto the actual standard toolbar. So long as you got the customized dialog box, you can modify your existing toolbars as well. I'm going to move it just left of New here. Perfect. Now I've got an Open button on my standard toolbar. If there are tools that you don't use, maybe you don't use this task here, well, in that case, you might want to just drag it down. You'll see a little X next to your pointer. When you let go, you've removed it. If you don't use tagging, click and drag it off as well. And you can see I've actually got more space now to put another toolbar up here. All right, under Dave's Tools, let's continue. Maybe under the Edit menu, you use Undo and Redo a lot, so we might want those in there as well. There we go. We pop those in there. Maybe under the View category, there's a few that you like to use. Pages sorted by date, for example. Scroll up to the top, there it is. That's a quick way to access that without going through the View menu. And I'm going to choose one more from the Format category. I work with the different fonts a lot, and I'm going to pop that over there. I think you got the idea. So when we're done, we click the Close button, and now we can move this thing into position. I'm going to put it right here underneath my standard toolbar. And I'm going to come over here to my formatting toolbar and right click when I see that four-sided arrow. This also allows us to choose which toolbars are currently being viewed, including the new one you created. I don't need the standard toolbar anymore. I've got my toolbar that I'm going to pop up here. I'm going to bring the formatting toolbar over. And this just created a little more space for me, having the tools I use on a regular basis at the top in a custom toolbar and in my formatting toolbar. Okay, let's go back up to View, down to Toolbars, and over to Customize. Now when you're done with a toolbar, you might want to remove it. So if I go over to Toolbars here, you can see Dave's Toolbar currently being viewed. If I click on Dave's Toolbar, now I can actually delete it. Not just hide it, but delete it, and click OK, and it's gone. I might want my standard toolbar turned back on. And with standard selected, remember we adjusted some of the buttons. We added one and took a few away. I can reset that at any time. Clicking the reset button and confirming by clicking OK will set it back to the default. Now the Open button has disappeared and my other buttons are back. Same thing goes for any of these toolbars on the list, including the ones you create. When you're done, click the Close button to return to your screen. So now you have a good idea on how to customize your user interface, including the toolbars that are visible, and even adjust those toolbars, customize them to add the buttons you use and remove the ones you don't. That'll create some extra space for you here on your screen.